Oh, yeah,
Oh.
yep.
Yes,
Got it.
on. Good work. Yep. Oh, you on? Yep. On. Yes. Oh, I'm on. First
Oh.
cast. First cast, what's so hard about this game?
That's a good one.
Now, catching whiting on surface lures. It's taken the fishing world by storm with its popularity. Maybe because of the thrill of seeing a whiting come up and smash the lure, or possibly because of the satisfaction when you finally succeed. But either way, if you want to improve yourself or learn how to do this, stay tuned for the next few minutes as I explain everything you need to know. Now, over the course of this video, I'm going to be going over a fair few different topics and showing you plenty of video clips of myself. Okay, so to start off, we'll go with technique, because that's a big one that lots of people would like to know, I'm sure. So obviously, surface lures, you can either use stick baits or poppers. So to start off, you have to do the longest cast that you possibly can with this surface lure.
Yeah, I know. They're good casts when you get out further.
This is because you just have to be really quiet on the flats and you can easily spook fish. Now, the big one is, you're probably wondering how to work the lure. As I'll show you in this video I'm about to play, with stick baits, you angle the rod down and to the side of yourself. So I like to call this one the constant jab and wind retrieve. Because what you're going to do is have the rod down by your side and just jab it back to you while constantly winding, keeping that line tight. And that's going to make the stick bait dart side to side. I'll show you the video now.
Oh, I'm sticking it out of the line. Come on, mate. Yep. Yep, you got him. You got him, Dad. You got him.
So with this, you can try different speeds, but whiting are very aggressive and they will hit a fast moving lure.
Yep, on again.
The other thing is you have to remember you're trying to imitate a fleeing prawn or yabby. So just think about that when you're working the lure. Is it looking like a fleeing prawn or yabby? So then we get to poppers. With poppers, you can use the same retrieve, but whereas the stick bait's going to dart side to side, the popper will track more straight through the water and just pop water as it goes. So the other thing you can do with poppers is, if you're fishing from the bank, you can put your rod tip high. So rather than having it down at an angle, you can have it straight in front of you and up high, and just do the same thing, just constantly popping it, flicking your rod tip and winding. I like this one from the bank because it really gets that lure going and moving pretty quickly. It's like darting across the surface, so I like that one. But if you're fishing from a boat with poppers, you'll have to keep your rod tip lower, because if you use the high retrieve when you're in a boat, your lure will just come straight out of the water, and yeah, it won't look as nice as if you're doing that from land based. Something else that I think a lot of people struggle with when they're doing the whole surface fishing for whiting is they don't know where to actually target, like which areas to fish in. So one of the main things is, when it's low tide, you want to find yourself a sandbank that has plenty of yabby holes or worm holes or soldier crabs running around or crustaceans, anything like that, any life that a whiting's going to eat. Now once you have your sandbank, it's important to fish it at the right tides, I think. So my personal favourite tides to fish are the first half of the run in and the second half of the run out. This is just because when it's closer to high tide, there's just so much water covering the flats that the fish can spread out over a very large area, and it's so hard to locate them with your lures. It's almost impossible at times. Now, when you're there at the right tide, you'll see that there's the deeper gutters and channels that flow up onto the bank, where the water first flows up onto the bank when the tide's coming in. So that's a really good place to fish, because the whiting will follow the water up. Even if it's really shallow, they'll follow it up and get up onto that sandbank to feed. So where the water first flows up onto the sandbank is a really good place. And even just anywhere where the water flows up onto the bank, the whiting are going to be moving up there, waiting for the water to flood in so they can go up there and feed. And it's the same with the run out tide, so the water's all going to be running off in those channels. Other places to fish, which I'll show you in a video now actually, are places where it just gradually drops off. So sand flat goes from quite shallow to a little bit deeper, about a metre and a half or so.
another legal one as well. Maybe. It's not going as hard as yours, but...
Doesn't matter.
Or even if there's just a little drop off, and still only a metre or a metre and a half deep, that's perfect as well. They'll feed along there. So another key area to look out for are weed beds up on the sand flats. Cast at the sand patches around them and in between them, because that's where the whiting are going to feed. I've caught plenty of good whiting there on bait and lures. Another thing that I've heard is that sand flats with oyster racks and structures like that also hold good numbers of whiting. So now that you've got the technique down pat, I'll show you the gear that I use. So first of all, we'll go for the rod. So it's a 5'6", 2 to 4 kilo graphite rod. So a lot of people will say that's a bit short and a bit heavy. Like a lot of people like the 1 to 3 kilo rods, and about a 6.5 or 7 foot rod for that long cast. But it's done the job for me, so yeah, I don't mind it. The other thing that I like about this rod is the rod's stiff enough to be able to cast. However, if a whiting takes it, it's soft enough that it's not going to pull the hooks or something like that. Now we'll get to the reel. I have a 1000 Shimano neck save on this. It's perfect for the whiting, perfect for flathead. If we're just talking about the whiting, this is absolutely perfect. So the line that I have on this currently is Berkeley Fire line. It's 8 pound chartreuse colour. So I also run a 6 pound leader. Now 8 pound may be a bit heavy for the whiting, and casting the small lures I could have 4 or 6 pound for example, but I also use this for my soft plastics fishing and things like that. But the 8 pounders worked fine, and I still have only the 6 pound leader, so I just set my drag light and I'm set really. I have a Vanish fluorocarbon leader, 6 pounds. Now, a lot of people say that you should only use mono when you're doing this whiting on the surface stuff. Firstly, because the mono stretches, so there's less chance of you pulling the hooks, but also because it floats, whereas the fluorocarbon sinks. But I started off on the fluorocarbon before I really knew that, and it's always worked for me, so I don't know. I might try mono, but the fluorocarbon's been working for me, so why change what's working? Now, to join my main line and leader, I use a double uni knot, and it's fine for casting all day. And it's strong enough for the whiting with the light line. It's perfect for it. Now, another thing that I like to carry with me is a set of pliers, because with these small hooks and the whiting going absolutely mental when you've landed them, and sometimes having the hooks right down in their mouth, there's a good chance of getting the trebles in your finger or the assist hooks, as I'm going to show you soon. Okay, so it's about time that I started to talk about lures. When you're looking for lures, you just need anything with an orange or pink tinge to it, or anything that's clear that just looks like a prawn or yabby really. The poppers that I use, this is what I first used and what I first caught my whiting on. Now, I think these ones are gillies, they're called. There was 5 for 15, so $3 each, and they worked perfectly. All they are is clear with the red cup, so all it is just clear. A few ball bearings in the back, the red cup face. Now, as you can see here with this one, it's the same lure, but I've just taken off the back treble and I've added on some assist hooks on the back. They're Eco Gear. A tip that I can give you with these assist hooks is the colour to get. You should get some orange and red ones like this, because that looks exactly like prawn legs. So the good thing about assist hooks is they'll pin the whiting that swipe behind and miss the actual lure. They actually add to the look of the lure. The stick baits that I've been using lately are Savage Gear. So they're called the Savage Gear Top Prey 53. They're, as you can see here, a bit of orange and clear with some stripes on it, so it looks like a prawn. I haven't actually used this colour. This is a new one I've just bought. But the absolute ultimate dynamite colour for these, I'm not sure of the actual name of the colour. This thing is absolutely dynamite. It is unreal. It looks exactly like a little prawn or something, for example. with the poppers and stick baits, it's important that you don't tie a loop knot. You just tie a straight blood knot or something straight to the eyelet, because they'll have their own action. If you tie a loop knot, it'll just flop all over the place and look silly. Some honourable mentions that I've never used myself but are absolutely dynamite on the whiting are the Bass Day Sugar Pen, Lucky Craft Sammy 65. Atomic and Berkeley have some great lures. I know Berkeley have a really good stick bait. Pro Lure have some great pencil style stick baits. Rapala have some great poppers, and I'm sure stick baits, but I've only seen their poppers, but they look absolutely great. And another perfect whiting popper that I've seen a lot of guys using lately is a Sabile Splasher. It's absolutely killing them. Dead set. So now I've just got some general tips. I'm just going to quick fire these off at you. So quite an obvious one is be quiet when you're moving along the flats. If it's early morning or late afternoon, try not to cast big shadows in front of yourself where you're casting. Cast with the wind behind you, one, so you don't get wind knots, but also you get a longer cast in. Set your drag quite light, but tight enough that you can actually set the hooks. If you have a choice, try to use a light coloured braid when you're surface fishing for whiting, so when they look up it just blends in with the sun. Now when you're sight casting, look for silver flashes up in the shallows, because this is the whiting rolling on their side, stirring up the bottom when they're feeding.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I see him. Oh, yep, here we go. Yep.
And possibly the biggest one of all is, if at first you don't succeed, try again, because when you crack the code, you will crack the code and it'll be the best fun that you've had in your life. Head over to Sand Flat Fishing Australia's page. I might leave his link in my description. He has some amazing knowledge and tips that you just have to see, so check out his videos. He's done a lot of this stuff. His whole channel's based around it. He's got plenty of videos. I'm always learning from him. Okay everyone, hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, I'd really appreciate if you subscribed, left a comment even. If you have any more questions, leave a like, rating, and I'll catch you in the next video. Tackle Talk 2, done.